So it's definitely interesting that you said that you reached out for help because I mean now like the roles are reversed, right? I mean you were in that
Exactly.
predicament before, but now you're on the other side of the coin to where you have people that are reaching out to you for help. So if someone is reaching out for help, right? Like what kind of help are you going to help them with? I mean, and kind of like really dive into this self mastery.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason why that story is everything leading up to what I just said was important because getting that help, it showed me how important it was to be vulnerable, right? I learned that vulnerability is actually strength,
Hmm.
right? We use the term self-confidence, self this, self-esteem, and all that, but there's a part in it where you still need support, right? You need support in order to really unlock who you are and the power that you have. So what I learned in that time with getting that help was one, there was no one that looked like me, right?
Hmm.
Really, I couldn't find them. So I know representation is very important because I was very skeptical when I went to speak to this older middle-aged white woman about what was going on in my life leading up through coming up where I came from, right? Because I felt like she maybe could be sympathetic but not empathetic, right? So that was one of the things I learned. And then I learned like self-mastery is an accumulation of things, right? It's an umbrella of a lot of different things. And one of the things was emotional intelligence. I could not control my emotions. Right. I learned that in that moment. I was not in control of my emotions, man. I was a hothead, right? I was really in pain. I was finding trauma bonds. I was, drinking heavily. I couldn't control myself. And that was just manifesting in so many different ways within my life. So fast forward, like once I got the help, I started learning so many different mechanisms to realize what my triggers were, how I can control these things and how I could help others. So what I do now as a coach, it's the same thing I did for myself, right? I learned how to forgive myself, which was the first thing you had to do, right? You have to forgive yourself in order to move from where you were, whatever you did, to be in the moment. So now you can move forward, right? Because the mindfulness, being present where you are now, is very important if you are to move forward. So that was one of the things I learned. And then the second thing I learned was the support system, right? Being a coach, one of the main things that I'm responsible for is accountability, but it's not in a judgmental way. A lot of us, we go to somebody, we like, man, they might use that on us later, right? I don't want to talk to this person because they might put that out there if I become famous, whatever happens, right? That goes on in our minds, these what if scenarios. So I always say I help people get to where they are and really acknowledge themselves, get that self-awareness, that self-control without judgment or guilt. Right? So they can share, they feel like they can share and express things. And I'm just asking powerful questions. I'm asking questions to help you dig deeper, right? To help you do that self-assessment, say, you know what? I thought that was the root cause of what was going on, but it's not. There's a lot more to it. Here I was ignoring the fact that I had this trauma happen to me. And
Hmm.
that's the reason why this is happening. Right. My self-esteem is not what I thought it was. So
Hmm.
that's a real big part of what I do as a coach is really getting people to have that introspection, right? Because in order to master yourself, you have to learn yourself in ways you never once thought was possible.
Hmm.
There's a book by Think Not On, and he talks about fear. Right? He's talking about how fear impacts us. And one of the things I learned was you can use fear in two ways.
Hmm.
Right? We talk about the fight or flight response. Fear can either stifle you or fear can motivate you and propel you forward. And what I like to do is change my client's relationship with fear. Because
Hmm.
a lot of us we retreat or we try to put up that defensive wall. Well, I always tell them like the best thing you can do is face that fear head on.
Hmm.
Right, start small. Just giving them small tasks, just to make them a little uncomfortable, so they can grow that comfort zone. Right, because you can only grow in discomfort. So having them do these little things, checking off action steps, creating that plan of action for success is really what we go into, and we can go in more of that too.